Welcome to Dare, the show for innovators, entrepreneurs, and startup leaders who dare to shape the future. Your hosts today are Ned Hayes and Cecilia Mariani. Dare is brought to you by Darwaf, the superpower tech team that can make your vision a reality. The Dare podcast is excited to welcome JB to the show today. He's the founder and CEO of Akuma Engineering, which is a parent company that provides advanced encryption, AI, 3D spatial scanning, quantum encrypted things. We'll talk about that. JB is doing some exciting things. So welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me along.
So first of all, you have a couple products out there that do things with quantum encryption. So Vox Messenger, some other work in that area. I'm really curious. Tell me about that first.
Okay, so basically, first of all, we've got to kind of delineate what is post-quantum encryption. Post-quantum is a beautiful buzzword. It's lovely. Investors and shareholders love it. Post-quantum, it sounds so Star Trek. The reality is post-quantum encryption is a form of cryptography based on algorithms which are based on lattice-based cryptography, whereas the current standard is elliptic curve. The lattice-based cryptography variant is in orders of magnitude 300 to 400 times stronger than the current standard. Now, it should be noted that we released the world's first consumer version of Vox Messenger in 2017, and it is only just now this year that Apple and Signal have finally announced that they're moving to post-quantum encryption. This is the reason why we managed to gain so many users in the space organically, I think. Not only is it stronger than the elliptic curve standard, it also basically means that hopefully up to about 2 or 3 generations of quantum supercomputer will not be able to smash it to pieces and reveal everybody's dirty little secrets. But even if it does, we're already working on the next generation. We're already working on hybridized homomorphic encryption, which is kind of like the holy grail of cryptography. It allows you to run mathematic operations or algorithmic operations on a piece of data without ever having to decrypt the data. So this basically means you could give governments the very thing that they claim to desire, which is not to have all of our keys, but just to have some of our keys, because, they've got to protect us from all of those weird people.
Right. Well, your work online, you're famous for being an advocate for privacy, as you just indicated, and for equity. And you're also an expert in a lot of things regarding crypto and different kinds of cryptography. So I'm curious, as you look at the market out there, how are things changing in recent times? You mentioned that Apple is starting to pick some of these developments up, but what else is happening?
Well, we have a lot happening in the space at the moment. In fact, encrypted messaging is perhaps very much at the forefront of people's minds right now because Paul Durov, whatever his name is, the founder of Telegram, was kind of ignominiously snatched up as he got off his airplane, and that mysterious female that walks with him and everybody believes is his social media expert also mysteriously just instantly disappeared the minute he was arrested. Very interesting things are happening in the encrypted messaging space. But let's look at Telegram as an example. Mm-hmm. Telegram has not always been encrypted. Telegram has only been end-to-end encrypted as a selectable option in the last 2 years. Prior to that, it wasn't. It is a mystery to me how it has even managed to gain its dominance as this apparent encrypted masterpiece thing. In any case, it must have been lots of lovely marketing. It does help when you get a lot of government support. Now, back in the day, a lot of people considered Telegram to be Russia's version of Signal, because if you know that Signal is not completely exactly as it says it is.
Right.
I mean, bear in mind, it was revealed that Tucker Carlson was going to be interviewing Putin from his Signal messages. Think about that a minute. If Signal is the tippy top of security, how is it that that a 3-letter agency can pull in Tucker Carlson and go, "Why are you interviewing Putin?" And he's kind of like, whoa, I only spoke about that on Signal. Yeah. How does that work? Now we have Telegram. And if you read the charges leveled against Paul Durov, they are actually compelling. It's not a case of what people are saying. A lot of people who are looking at this, you go onto Twitter and you read the lunacy that churns out of Twitter.
There's a bunch of garbage out there. And just for our listeners to note, this is the day that we're recording this. This is the 28th of August. And he was just indicted today. So The arrest just happened. He was indicted today. So this is breaking news. So keep going though, spell it out.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're
So
saying
basically,
that the charges are actually somewhat compelling.
yeah, okay, so generally, if you go on social media, everybody is saying that the case against Paul Dionov is a case of it's kind of like Ed Snowden. It's like the other guy. It's about human right and privacy. No, it's not. Telegram has been a cesspool of criminality for the longest time. Easily for the past decade. The EU, and it's evidenced by the way, the EU has spent 5 or 6 years contacting Telegram trying to get them to play ball with regulation, trying to get them to at least, assume the modicum of detection systems to detect if somebody is trafficking children or selling
Right.
drugs.
So just to be clear, for those who don't know, the Telegram policy has been they don't cooperate and they do not give
It's
any
worse than that.
information to law
No,
enforcement.
it's worse
Right,
than that.
right,
They don't cooperate. They don't acknowledge either.
right.
That's a big one. You can not cooperate all day long, but if you completely ignore, as in you do not even acknowledge that there is a problem, this is when the EU will probably look at you as being the problem. And that's what happened with Telegram, basically. I mean, the other thing that's very interesting is that if you look at the crypto space in particular, by the way, crypto as in cryptocurrency, not to be confused with cryptography, most of the people in the crypto space have been using Telegram for the longest time. And we know in the crypto space, there is a lot of skeletons in a lot of cupboards. And these skeletons involve things like human trafficking, unfortunately, stuff to do with children, money laundering at massive
Right.
scales.
It's sick stuff. It's wrong stuff.
Yeah.
It's that nobody should be involved with.
Exactly. And meanwhile, Telegram has been adopting a laissez-faire attitude of, well, whatever, we're not even going to pick up the phone. So I hate to say it, the EU definitely had a right to go and say, what, we've had enough now. You're not even listening to anything. You're harming EU citizens by completely ignoring what is happening. But it gets even deeper.
Mm-hmm.
By taking the founder of Telegram, you all of a sudden gain access to all of the horrible shit that's been going on in the cryptocurrency space. And bear in mind, there is a lot of revelations about to be coming out. Revelations about crypto chads and crypto bros. Bear in mind, people, you hear it here first. Revelations about crypto bros and their mysterious islands in Puerto Rico. Oh, yes. We're talking like Epstein level stuff is about to come out in the crypto space. There's a reason why in our own crypto project that we're doing at Akuma, we have not recruited any influencers or any calls or anybody, because there's a high probability a lot of them are about to get nuked, basically, because of what these people have been doing. Now, Telegram, I myself have a messaging platform. It's nowhere near as big as Telegram. We're like over 90,000 users and growing, but that's because we have not paid for any marketing. We've just done it all organically. But we are building mechanisms. We are building AIs which are trained on the patterns of encrypted filth. So if you are going to be using our platforms for that kind of stuff, we will find you. There's a reason we have the third company in our group, Gorgon Black Box, is actually a registered private military corporation, because we see a reality where we will be forced to have to act when things are being done using our product. Because the argument as a creator of a platform, you are not responsible for what your platform is used for, is a facile argument. It's like saying that, I don't know, imagine you've had 3 kids and they all turn out to be psychopath rapists. There is a level of responsibility there as the parent. Sorry, the child does not become this thing without something happening. And bear in mind, if you're the parent, it's happened on your watch. So there is a high level of responsibility there. Unfortunately, Mr. Dunov has kind of demonstrated what a lot of parents demonstrate in modern society, which is that they don't really deal with it. They let somebody else deal with it. The thing that gets even more interesting about this is the lady that he had with him who was managing his socials. This lady spent 7 years with him and then literally on the day of his arrest disappeared from the face of the earth. Now, there is a lot of rumors circulating that she is potentially a CIA handler and that he may have actually been set up, which does happen. Yeah. I'm ex-military. I'm ex-army myself. I have some intelligence experience. Yeah, it happens. You have to watch out for handlers, and people will have handlers placed in their circles for years. I mean, literally embedded in their circles for years. So yes, to Paul Dunov's defense, such as it is, he was very young when he created VK and left Russia. He became a multimillionaire before he had brain cells to deal with it. And then it kind of looks like he was welcomed into the arms of 3-letter agencies who schmoozed him, kind of guided him in a certain direction, if you will. And now the bill has come in. And now the time is done, as it were. And it looks like Telegram is. I don't think Telegram's going to close down, to be honest. I think what's going to happen is you'll see done to Telegram what was done to FTX. So FTX properly shit the bed, pardon my French, but they completely destroyed crypto. And Sam Bankman-Friedman is going to jail, going to get out somehow. They always do. Rich white guys, it's a thing. But he'll get out of jail. But FTX, funnily enough, which we all thought was going to get broken up, is going to be relaunched, apparently. Oh, yes, FTX will get to live another day. Isn't that convenient? And the 8% of the entirety of Solana that FTX hold, oh, yes, we're not going to get into the details of how that came into their hands, will go on and be taken over effectively by the American government. Isn't that beautiful?
Fascinating. Yeah. Well, so you have a lot of experience in this area and a lot of knowledge here. And one thing that I'd just like to point out is that we've talked about crypto bros and we've talked about illegal activity. But I think one of the visions for crypto was to have a decentralized currency and a way of moving funds so that marginalized communities could actually benefit. And so is that promise still possible?
Well, I mean, we are working towards that promise ourselves. I mean, the ultimate goal for Akuma engineering is to create a sustainable route to universal basic income for everybody. That is the end goal for Akuma engineering. It doesn't involve silver eyeballs. It doesn't involve biometrics. It's just for everybody. But how do you achieve that? How do you get to that? How do you get to that without putting up taxes and without doing all kinds of other crazy stuff? And the way you do it is by producing products which empower people to take control of their data. Because actually, blockchain and cryptocurrency are the distraction. The reality of blockchain is blockchain actually doesn't have a lot of really good use cases, actually.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at it from a technical standpoint, it's slow, it's clunky, it's computationally heavy. It's not great for everything. You know, it's kind of like we have bubbles. People will try and jack blockchain into everything periodically, just the same as they'll try to jack AI into everything periodically. But the reality is it doesn't work for everything. But what it does work for really well is storing data and allowing you to grab that data and prove who owns it or who holds it. That's its truest purpose. Now, people will go, no, it's not. It's to make money and for like generational wealth. And I would turn around and go, do you not understand? Your data is your generational wealth. Because your data, your digital existence is more valuable to how the world operates, actually. That data is used for all kinds of things. It's used for customizing this, that, and the other in your experience online. And it has huge value. There's a reason Facebook keeps its doors open for people to post all kinds of lunatic crap on it, because they make you think it has no value, but to them it has a lot of value. And to you, it should have value. Every single thing that you say, every single thing that you post, every single thing that you send, every single thing that you talk about, look at, has quantifiable value in the digital space. So that's what we're doing. We're basically in the middle of fundraising at the moment because we're using nanochains. Nanochains solve the Bitcoin scale problem. And we're using nanochains to actually give people the ability within the Vox ecosystem to pretty much have the same experience they have on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, all these other places, except they don't get ads shoved in their faces, because I hate ads with a passion. I will not have them anywhere near my products. And they just live their digital lives. But they can then visit the Vox Energy Hub app, and they can see all these different data points that they've created on their timeline of their existence in our ecosystem. And then they can pull it all together like Sauron with the one ring. And then they can just use toggle switches to actually make the data available to data brokers. And we've already got deals with data brokers, by the way. So we can actually empower a user to be in the position of Facebook, to be in the position of brokering the deal on the value of their own data. Not only were they able to make their data available to data brokers and AI trainers, but they can even respond to what are called data broker calls. So data brokers, they're on the mass ads networks. You'll get different well-called data calls where they'll say, we need data from 5,000 24-year-olds who like blue Nike trainers. Really specific things will come across the ads network. Now, we as individuals never see this. We never get to see what bits of our data have value where. Some people will pay shitloads for that. Some people will pay less. But it's the data brokers who manipulate that and have access to that and make the money from it. You don't until now.
Right. So this flips the equation around where the user actually has the power to decide what they're sharing and that
Yes.
can be valuable and they can choose who gets it, right?
Not just they can choose who gets it, they also can directly pay themselves from it. Which
Mm,
basically, you see, we've managed to work out there are two sustainable routes to universal basic income in the coming world. Route one is that we are handing over 60% of the profits from all of our products into a UBI wallet, which is a multi signature wallet, which will automatically spawn itself from one of our other smart contracts on the 5th of November, 2030. And it'll just
okay.
keep pumping those profits in. And then those profits are redistributed to everybody via the Vox Crypto app. So anybody who holds Vox Crypto, they'll just start seeing money reappearing in their wallet, just topping it up for them. Now, route two is giving, to me, that still feels like charity because we are still giving these people something. Yes, it's coming from our profits and they're part of the profit cycle, but they are still reliant on us to get it. So the other, what I prefer sustainable route to universal basic income is the other component, which is where we have created an ecosystem where people can live their digital lives privately and as securely as they want, but then they have control of the data to make money from it individually. Now, we make money from it, of course, because we charge a transactional handling fee underneath that by providing the infrastructure. But again, because we use common file formats and systems that integrate with other people, they can always move away from us if they want to in the future. This basically would give people two routes to regular monthly income rolling into their own personal wallets that they control. Nobody else. Job seekers in the government doesn't control it. Work Development Board in Massachusetts doesn't control it. Nobody controls it but them. And if we
Yeah.
disappeared tomorrow, it would still operate because we're using blockchain and smart contract. Somebody could put a bullet in my head tomorrow and it would still operate. That's why I'm building these systems, so that these systems are not reliant on a personality CEO to talk shit every 5 minutes on a stage and deliver nothing. Elon Musk, I'm looking at you, buddy. It relies instead on actual technical
Yeah.
foundations, which will work without me being necessary in the future.
Right. And that's the decentralized kind of promise
Yes.
originally that you did not have to have it in the hands of one person. The problem is, of course, that the exchanges and the way crypto has come about in the real world, you end up with these choke points and you end up with
Yes.
these personalities. Some of them can be trusted, a lot of them can't, like we saw with FTX. So, what you're trying to do is go back, in some regard, to the original promise of the technology and build it in a way that's sustainable, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually fixed the exchange problem. We've got Vox Pay launching in 2 months. What is Vox Pay? Basically, Vox Pay is our version of Revolut. It's our
Okay.
version of PayPal and Skrill, except we're not going to ransom your money. It even says in our terms and conditions, we don't ransom your money. So you'd have to be Mengele for us, for you
Yeah.
not to have your money. So basically, what Vox Pay does is because we own our own crypto rails and because we're a certified neobank as well, because as I said, I get bored and like to stick my hands in everything. We actually have our own debit cards backed by Visa, which means you don't have to go to Coinbase or Binance to buy crypto. You could literally buy crypto natively in the Vox Crypto app using your Vox debit card. And because they are the same interchange, there's only one fee,
Mm-hmm.
not four.
So it doesn't have to go here and there and everywhere. It can just be
It's
within that one
direct.
area.
And because
Yeah.
they have a debit card, they can then go and spend it for fiat equivalency in a shop.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, the pushback on that is it's still in your hands, so to speak. It's one system. So, is there work to make this system compatible with other
Yeah,
systems?
of
Yeah.
course. You see, look, we don't have one of the things that we have in Akuma engineering is we have certain no words. Oh my God, the anti woke brigade are going to be literally peeling their faces off when they hear that. No words, no. It's not what you think. Our no words, for example, is competitors. We don't have any competitors. We have future
Okay.
partners. That's exactly how we look at it. I mean, if you look at Vox Crypto as an app at the moment, we've not waited to release Vox Pay to do our own rails. We've integrated with Transact. We already have Transact on-ramping and off-ramping in Vox Crypto in the next release as it is. So it's not a case of, I'll give you an example, our 3D software. We have the Adobe Premiere of volumetric 3D production. What does that mean? It basically means that anybody can become their own Marvel studio and start creating nauseating superhero movies with all kinds of digital twins and visual effects, spatial
Yeah.
scan. Now, this
Mhm.
software, if you look at the reason why VR and AR has not taken off in the metaverse space is because it's just too damn expensive. It's elitist as F, basically, because of the cost of the hardware, the software, and the sensors. And the choke point in this case is DepthKit, because they charge $3,000 per month. They're my only competitor in the space, and they've just been acquired by Evercoast. We're charging $49.99 per month. So we're smashing their pricing model completely to pieces. They charge $3,000 per month per user for 10 sensors. We charge $49.99 per month per user for unlimited sensors. We don't care. We're not. You see, it's very different when you have people running a company who don't care about super yachts, don't care about mansions, don't care about 501ks, don't care about flashy holidays or being photographed at Pierrettes or Biarritz and stuff like that. When you have founders and teams like that, it means that you can deliver products which are like other people would insanely price and deliver them at what we call an every person pricing. Think of it like this. If this software had been mainstreamed, the Apple Vision Pro wouldn't have died on its face. It would have actually had content, because 3D, AR, VR, the metaverse, it lives and dies on content. You can't release
content is key to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And how do you create content? Is it, bear in mind, the content creators that you see nowadays did not achieve this mainstreaming ability until Snapchat, actually. Why? Because Snapchat made it so damned easy to make a little short form video. They gave you an app. They gave you stickers. They gave you stupid filters, and you could go nuts with it. And that's kind of what we're doing with Spatial Scan. We've basically made it so it's stupid easy for anybody to go out there and make a 3D film. And my hope is that by doing stuff like this, we're able to bring that equity back to the space. We get to remove the elitism. We start to hear new voices. We'll start to see new stories, because content is king. I mean, it was recently revealed by a business research group that volumetric content will be worth 30 trillion by 2030.
That's pretty amazing.
That's basically a complete flip of current 2D video short form. And if you look at Snap, I mean, by the way, if people are wondering, your listeners are probably going to be saying, so why would 3D content? We're like, what? Think of it like this. Imagine watching a stupid meme on TikTok, and as opposed to you being stuck to the director's camera, you can change the camera to wherever you want to be. Imagine watching Titanic, although why you would want to imagine such a soul-destroying experience, I cannot. Sorry, James Cameron, you don't get them all right, but imagine watching Titanic and they're doing I'm the king of the world thing, and you kind of get bored with it. But imagine being able to move the camera around and watch the Bellboys story. Imagine being able to take that camera somewhere else and see the story from another angle, or see a completely different story that runs parallel to it. It's going to change filmmaking and storytelling.
So you have so many amazing ideas, JB, and I know that your fingers are in actually building these out, but I'm curious, like, where did you come from in terms of what's your background, what's your history? Just tell me a little bit about you, especially I think our listeners would be really intrigued. And in the notes for this show too, I will put links to JB's companies as well.
Thank you. I mean, basically, like all good, like CIA operations, I just was put here as a plant. No, not really. Basically, people can track and trace me because I live my life very publicly, because it's about consistency. Yeah. I was born in Birmingham, raised in Birmingham in the 1980s, grew up in a council estate. I was raised in Bordesley Green East, the same area. I literally grew up where the Peaky Blinders grew up. Yeah, that's my background. My mother was from a rich family in Bristol, so I was homeschooled in the traditional British 3 R's tradition: reading, writing, and for some reading, arithmetic without an A? What? So I had a very classical education. I was on protest marches for freeing the Birmingham Six when I was like 6 and 7 years old. I was at a place called Zebedee's Cafe in Birmingham, which has a blue plaque to it, which was like the seat of the communist and socialist movement in Birmingham in the 1980s. I was reading Descartes and Baudrillard by the time I was 7 and 8. I was reading Oppenheimer's Guerrilla Warfare by the time I was 7 and 8. So my mother effectively think of it like this. I was kind of like John Connor. My mother trained me for a revolution that never actually took place, funnily enough. And this was
That's going to be your tagline, the modern day John Connor.
I'm okay with that, actually. I mean, other people have tried to compare me to Elon Musk. Very horrifying.
If you're so that revolution didn't happen, but what did happen was a revolution in technology, because I think you and I probably went through some of the same moments in realizing how the internet was going to change things, how the web browser was going to change things, how encryption was changing things, and these kind of inflection points really made it possible to do all sorts of new and different things like you're talking about. So if you are John Connor, what forces are you fighting today?
nothing has actually changed. Bear in mind, there was huge injustices in the 1980s. Then we had BLM. Then people forgot about it. And now we're on the brink of World War III and religious genocide. So unfortunately, the forces which I'm fighting it seems to be I'm kind of fighting human nature to some extent. It feels like at times. No, I would probably say the forces I'm trying to really fight is poverty and inequity, because these are things which should not exist in the modern world. Not in a world where we have humanoid robots that can like build and manufacture 24 hours a day, not when we have AIs that can write books and make food and do all kinds of crazy things. The reality is we're stuck in this really weird place right now. The old world doesn't want to die, but it has to die. That's the problem. And the new world, the true 21st century world of blockchain equity, being able to share resources and universal basic income is literally just there. It's just almost in grasp, just almost. But there is still so much of an element of the old ways still holding us back, which is so weird because we literally have Star Trek level technology, people. We have the technology that I used to sit there and as a little spy-faced kid in front of my little CRT, this massive CRT TV, because we didn't have flat screen. We didn't have like a 70-inch behemoth LED thing. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This was science fiction when I was a 5-year-old.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about this? This Kinect DK, a device that would allow me to scan myself into the metaverse. Also, complete fiction when I was a child. But here it is. It's an everyday object. I mean, oh my God, we got like mobile phone, these things.
Right. But yes, we have some amazing things. But like I read something recently that somebody said, look, I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so I can do art and writing, not AI to do my art and writing. So how do we use this power for good, right?
Well, this is the big question. And I've struggled with this a lot. I'll give you an example. I've developed a lot more products than you see out there today. And I've actually shelved a lot of products. Because you will develop, there are some things where it's going to sound nuts to say, but sometimes you'll design something like, yeah, this is great, yay! But you literally cannot find a single good thing that can be done with it.
Right.
I mean,
I'll give you an example. Lots of bad things that I could do with this, but what's the next positive application?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. One summer, I had a HoloLens 2 a few years back. I love the HoloLens 2. I designed an application that allowed me to point at a person, and it would automatically scrape all the information from social media about this person and give me it's kind of like Ghost in the Shell. I could look at a person and tell me everything about them, basically. And it worked so freakishly fast. It was terrifying. And I literally couldn't find a good use for it. So I was like, oh my God, this is cool. Isn't this cool to demo? But then I suddenly realized, oh my God, you've developed a thing that literally allows you to target people very specifically using open source, using freely available information. I couldn't even demo that to people, to be honest, because the applications are ridiculous in the bad arena. That's the problem.
Right. So the big question is, how do we inject more ethical thinking like you're talking about into the minds or practices of engineers and of technology creators today? Because God knows we need it, right?
Well, it's easy. You stop glorifying negative behavioral patterns. You stop glorifying the Andrew Tate inspired people of the world. And then you'll probably end up with slightly more even thinking people. This is the problem. We have a lot. So when you look at psychology, they say that most CEOs are psychopaths. Yeah, that's true. Psychopathy can be a good thing. It doesn't have to be absolute lunacy. Unfortunately, a lot of the CEOs we have in this generation of CEOs are not from this generation. We actually have a bunch of baby boomer CEOs, actually, not even Gen X CEOs. We have baby boomer CEOs who grew up in a time and in a world very different from the world we exist in now. And they're trying to use their financial power and influence to keep things the way they were. And that's the problem, because it's all about who's in control. It's all about the backgrounds of those in control. If you have a person who lived a luxurious life because they were living in a country that was benefiting from apartheid at the time, I find it hard to believe that that person's going to run a company or run any company where equity and, those kinds of things are espoused and promoted even, because it's not in them. Think of it, bear in mind, I grew up on a council estate, so I experienced some level of privation in Birmingham in the 1980s. It was bad. We also had the Troubles, we also had the IRA stuff happening. So we were living under this kind of feeling of terrorism all the time anyway. It creates, when you experience that, when you go out into the world and you continue to see that stuff happening, it does tune you to a certain way of thinking. Now, it's really funny.
I agree with you that there are two different perspectives, given where people might come from. And there's probably a spectrum of perspectives in between.
Cool.
But I'll ask kind of the dumb question, which I have my own answer to, but I'm curious what your answer would be. Why is it important to have diversity in tech?
Diversity for me, okay, I'm going to say we don't actually need racial diversity fucking anywhere. We need intellectual, emotional diversity. Two different things. You can't,
Yes.
We have a horrible habit in the modern world of just slapping certain words together and saying it's okay just because of a word association. No,
Yeah.
We shouldn't be hiring people just because of the color of their skin. We shouldn't be hiring people or not hiring people just because of the sound of their voice either, because don't forget that happens. Bear in mind, if you sound like a regional Neanderthal, it's very unlikely that you're going to get certain jobs because of that. Bear in mind, I come from Birmingham. I don't speak like a Brummie. Do you think I would have got half of the opportunities I would have had if I spoke like a Brummie? Do you?
Right.
No. I wouldn't. There's a reality there. Yeah, I would say we do need more diversity, but I'd say it's more of an intellectual and cultural diversity. So you don't need to...
Yeah, but to come back to base principles, the reason that we need it is that the world is bigger than just a certain model of a suburban person who is moneyed, who is privileged, who lives a kind of Caucasian life in Houston, Texas. The world is bigger than that. And if we're going to make technology for all those people, we should involve those people in the making of it.
There's also a safety component. I'll give you an example. Almost all computer vision systems are trained off of AIs, which are built off of only 4 image data sets. Yeah. These 4 image data sets with photographs of people in have less than 1% racial diversity in them. Now, that's a place where it is important because being able to see stuff is where you want to identify things. There's no point in a self-driving car that will guaranteed stop in front of white people, but as soon as it sees a black person, it goes, oh, that's a shadow. I'll just keep going.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and it happens. It is actually happening. But because there are no super billionaire black people with like the influence to nuke people, nobody has gone, oh my God, we best fix this. So it still exists and it's still perpetuating. Now, the way we're trying to fix that is if we use a computer vision system, we completely rebuild the data sets ourselves. And we will try to fix that. And we will also try to put that data back out there on how to fix that as well, in the hopes that other people will pick up on it, you know? It is a safety issue as well, especially when it comes to AI, because an AI sees as a human would see, and it needs to be able to interpret and understand. Now, unfortunately, because these 4 data sets, it does kind of make computer vision naturally racist. But it's not the AI's fault, actually. It's nothing to do with the AI. Actually, all of our faults because we haven't built better data sets.
Right. Absolutely. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, JB. I've really appreciated it. I do have one last question. My last question is, what do you dare to dream? And I worry about opening the door on that because I think you have lots of dreams. So try to restrain yourself a bit.
My dreams are fairly mundane. What I dare to dream of is a future where people can literally live their best selves, and whatever it is, where we can actually walk out of our front door and not have to worry about things, not have to worry about whether or not we have got money to get out and go to work today, worry about whether or not we're going to have a roof over our head, worry about whether or not we're going to have something to eat, whether or not we can feed our children. Did you know in the UK, there's over 2 million children that barely have 1 meal a day, and we're a first world country? But we can give 22 billion in funding to the Ukraine for a war that has nothing to do with us. I kind of dream of a future where, I hate to sound almost Martin Luther King with this, but I kind of dream of a future where my brothers and sisters, and I mean everybody in humanity, can actually get along and actually build great things again. Bear in mind, in humanity, we used to do things like build massive cathedrals that would take 400 years to build. Nowadays, we can't even stay sane with each other for 5 minutes in a normal text-based conversation. So I just dream of a future where humans recognize each other as humans, and we don't have to be worried by the suffering of being without. It kind of sounds a bit wishy-washy, I know,
no,
but
I don't think it's wishy-washy at all. I think feeding children is a worthwhile dream.
It sounds, it kind of, it's so, I got to be honest, it feels like I'm living in the pages of a really bad dystopian sci-fi novel half the time lately, especially with the conflicts which are going on. The stuff I see technology being used for right now really is egregious, especially when it comes to AI, drones, and using AI to target people. But that's a conversation that you could do an entire whole show on, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation, JB. I really appreciate your time.
Great.
Thank you for sharing your big ideas. As I said,
Thanks for having me a lot.
I'll make sure to link to your companies in the show notes. Take care. Thanks to our guests today for their great insights on DARE, the podcast for innovators, entrepreneurs, and startup leaders. If you'd like your story to be featured on DARE, just contact us at info@darwaft.com. DARE is brought to you by Darwaft, the tech team that can make your vision a reality.